Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung Yu. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is our Pali Canon and English study group where I help you guys to understand the teachings of the Buddha through his own words. We do this more as a study group as opposed to all the other ways that I teach, which is more of a traditional style of learning. I'll explain to you guys what the Pali Canon and English study group is a little bit later. The way that we start our class is with some meditation because this is one of the primary trainings that you need in addition to other things to be able to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll no longer experience any discontent feelings. You will have eliminated all the causes and conditions that are producing things like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So the way that we start with our meditation is we start with some chanting in order to be able to ease the mind into meditation. This actually helps you get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you decide to chant, you'll see that you get more benefit in your meditation. If you'd like to chant, there's chanting sheets over there on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself to get a chanting sheet, and you're welcome to chant along. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is the way they use this as a learning tool, as a learning device, where today we use it more to ease the mind into meditation, but during his lifetime, it was a learning tool, as a learning device. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. There's none of those kinds of things in the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing those kinds of things, those aren't his actual teachings. If you read the English translations on these chants, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these himself, because he wouldn't have gone around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. This would be ego or arrogance if somebody was doing this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have that in your mind. So the Buddha wouldn't have done that. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, and frustration and all these other discontent feelings to the peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you, they were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, or respect for that person too. So that's why I think these actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. After the chanting, we'll be in the meditation, and I'll be essentially teaching you and guiding you in the meditation while we're actually meditating. This is helping you to learn how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating. Everyone here at the temple and anybody joining online will just all be meditating. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, there might be a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze, or something like that. This is all normal. When you're in meditation, you're not going to be in permanent silence. So if you crave permanent silence in meditation, when you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. That's the cause of all the discontent feelings, is that your mind is craving permanence while you live in an impermanent world. So these sounds, they're going to arise, they're going to change, and then they're going to fade away. And if you're in meditation understanding that, you can be at ease because the world's working exactly the way it was intended to work, that you're going to hear occasional sounds. So you can just be peaceful and joyful and understanding the world's working the way it was intended to work. Then after that period of time of quietness, then we'll come out of that with some more chanting, and then that's where I'll start today's class. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment, where today what I'm going to do is I'll just share some guidance with you on the seated position, but you need these others because it's kind of like having a tool belt, and you would learn these in different courses or retreats, and you would use the different positions that you need at different times based on what's going on with your own practice. But the seated position is where people are oftentimes learning, so I'll give you guys some guidance on this. But just understand what I'm sharing with you are just suggestions or recommendations, because there's not just one way to sit. If there was just one way to sit, that would be permanence, and we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world. So different people are going to find different things to be comfortable. So you could be sitting on the floor, or we have chairs. You could sit in a chair. Maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can sit however you like. If you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just decide to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way, because that would be permanence. And we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world. So there's other options here. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put those wherever you like. And the same thing's true for anybody who's in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed. So this is an option for you as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched like this, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you're real rigid with your upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be in the middle with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because not only does it keep the mind attentive and alert, but it makes it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting in order to ease into the meditation. You guys are welcome to join in. Just remember, it's not a prayer or ritual or ceremony or anything like that. It just helps you to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Bhutang Mahakewanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakevata Tammo Namang Namasami Supatipano Mahakevato Savaka Sankho Sanghang Namami Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Nama Sati Satatawa Manusarang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect. just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath, not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเขวาโอตังมหาเขวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, I'd like to welcome all of you guys. Good morning. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. As I was sharing, today is our Pali Canon and English study group where we study the words of the Buddha, helping you guys to be able to understand this path to enlightenment that he taught. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha figured out how to get to the point where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training the mind. What you'll notice is that as you move into the enlightened mental state, your mind will be focused. You'll have concentration, clarity, and deep memory. All your relationships will be harmonious. Where in the unenlightened state, you'll have a certain amount of bitterness and harshness and hostility that comes out in your relationships, and that's just damaging your ability to have harmony with those people. So by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have that anymore. Oftentimes people think that that's coming from other people, but it's actually coming from your own mind. All that anger, frustration, any of those discontent feelings, the hostility and bitterness, it's all coming from your own mind. It's physically impossible for someone to insert something into your mind. It's all coming from within your mind itself. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't even be able to experience a bad mood anymore, that it's physically impossible. So there's various programs that I teach here to help students to be able to learn the path to enlightenment. On Sundays and Wednesdays, I teach something called the group learning program, where each Sunday I go chapter by chapter in this book, helping students to be able to understand the path to enlightenment over a 7-month period. And you can attend these classes here, or I live stream them all, so you can attend them no matter where you are in the world. And you can even watch the recordings, even if you can't attend the live streams. And then there's various courses and retreats. Like next week, I'm teaching a Harmony and Relationships course, Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. You're welcome to come to any of these events. They're all available at no cost. Everything we do here is available at no cost. The books are available, the classes, courses, retreats, even personal guidance. And then on not only do we have those courses and retreats, but on Saturdays, I teach what's called the Pali Canon and English Study Group. That's where we're at today, is that this book series of 13 books, what we do over a 1.5 year period is we explore volumes 2 through 13. These are the original words of the Buddha, where typically the way I'm teaching in all these other programs is I'll teach for like 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then I'll open up for questions, teach another 15, 20, 30 minutes, open up for questions. What I do in this program is I invite students here at the temple, and those of you guys that are online in Zoom, to be able to read a chapter from this book. This is actually the original words of the Buddha. We normally start with chapter 11 or 21, or we do 10 chapters a week. In this program, we usually do about 2 or 3 here at the temple. But I usually start at chapter 11, but today we're starting at chapter 12. It's just a better chapter to start at for you guys. What I do is invite you guys to read this out loud. You can see this one is about a page and just a little bit here. These are the original words of the Buddha that he spoke during his lifetime, and he was sharing his teachings. And after someone reads this chapter, I will then share some teachings on this to help you understand how it connects to his other teachings. And then I'll open up for any and all questions that you guys have, whether you're here at the temple or whether you're online. When you're learning and studying the teachings of the Buddha, it's important that you don't believe his teachings. You're learning them intellectually to examine them and investigate them. Then you're reflecting to verify, are they true or are they false? And you can independently verify all of his teachings. Then you practice his teachings, start integrating them into your day-to-day life. And this is what helps you to acquire wisdom. The teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief. So you're not believing a bunch of things and hoping something good happens when you die. Instead, you're learning, growing, and developing in this life, becoming a better and better person in this life by training your mind. And the only way you can do that is through the cultivation of wisdom. So that's why you're not believing his teachings. He didn't teach any rules or commandments. It's not about rites or rituals, ceremonies, or worship. It's about gaining wisdom about the world around you. And that's what he's going to teach you here. So the way that we do this is if you guys would like to read here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl there in the middle of the room. We also have some up here as well. All you need to do is get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button. You'll see the lights come on, and you can hold this up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you because you might have more than one question or something like that, or you might be interested to share your mic with someone else if there's someone around you that has a question. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And for anybody who's online, if you have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, and I'll be able to see that. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand to ask any questions or to volunteer to read. So is there someone here or someone in Zoom that would like to volunteer to read this first chapter? Okay, Rachel's going to volunteer to read.
The suitable way for attaining Nibbana, Enlightenment, first discourse. Monks, I will teach you the way that is suitable for attaining Nibbana, Enlightenment. Listen to that and attend closely. I will speak. And what, monks, is the way that is suitable for attaining Nibbana, Enlightenment? Here, a monk sees the eye as impermanent. He sees forms as impermanent. He sees eye consciousness as impermanent. He sees eye contact as impermanent. He sees as impermanent whatever feeling arises with eye contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the ear as impermanent. He sees sounds as impermanent. He sees ear consciousness as impermanent. He sees ear contact as impermanent. He sees as impermanent whatever feeling arises with ear contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the nose as impermanent. He sees odors as impermanent. He sees nose consciousness as impermanent. He sees knows contact as impermanent. He sees as impermanent whatever feeling arises with knows contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the tongue as impermanent. He sees flavors as impermanent. He sees tongue consciousness as impermanent. He sees tongue contact as impermanent. He sees as impermanent whatever feeling arises with tongue contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the body as impermanent. He sees physical objects as impermanent. He sees body consciousness as impermanent. He sees body contact as impermanent. He sees as impermanent whatever feeling arises with body contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the mind as impermanent. He sees mental objects as impermanent. He sees mind consciousness as impermanent. He sees mind contact as impermanent. He sees as impermanent whatever feeling arises with mind contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. This, monks, is the way that is suitable for attaining Nibbana, enlightenment.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. So this is a discourse that is helping people to understand one of the very first teachings of the Buddha, but it's connected to some other things that he's teaching. This isn't his very first teaching, but this is a teaching that kind of points to one of his very first teachings. There's something called the three universal truths. This is helping you to be able to understand the world around you and how your mind functions. That's what the Buddha is teaching you. He's not, again, teaching you rules and commandments. He's not teaching you a bunch of beliefs. He's helping you to understand the natural world around you. Because when you're experiencing stress, anger, frustration, guilt, shame, fear, all these other types of things, anxiety. This is the mind living in a world that it doesn't understand. The mind is struggling. It's having difficulties. There's a certain lack of wisdom that the mind has. So by cultivation of wisdom and understanding the world around you, you will now be able to function in the world more peacefully. Essentially, if you can remember when we were children, we didn't understand the natural law of gravity and we struggled. We fell down, we hit our head, we bumped our elbows, we broke our toys, we cried and cried and cried. We were so upset. But then over time, you might say that we awoke or we awakened to the natural law of gravity. What that means is we cultivated wisdom about the natural law of gravity. And now we don't actually struggle with that natural law anymore. We learned things like tying your shoes a bit tighter. We stopped being so giddy and bouncing around like a kid all the time. We started looking at the surface of the sidewalk as we walked down the street. We paid more attention to that. And now we don't have the same difficulties and struggles because we have more wisdom, because we make wiser decisions, because we understand the world around us. We never believed in the natural law of gravity. We actually saw it for ourselves. There it is. We can see the truth, that it's real, right? So there's other natural laws that are affecting you, whether you're aware of it or not. And when you have wisdom of a natural law, you'll be able to make wiser decisions and you'll be able to experience improved results. That's why now we can climb ladders, we can ride bicycles, we can get on airplanes and fly all over the world because we fully awoke to the natural law of gravity. Well, there's other natural laws that are affecting you, whether you're aware of it or not. And that's what the Buddha is helping you to be able to see. Because once you understand those natural laws, you won't struggle and have difficulties. You won't have stress and anxiety and frustration and agitation. You'll be able to navigate the world peacefully. So one of the very first things that you need to understand as part of this path to be able to understand the world around you and why your mind's doing what it's doing so that you can then fix it is that the world is impermanent. Everything around you is constantly changing. The reason why this is so important is because the unenlightened mind craves permanence. It wants things to be permanent, but yet you live in an impermanent world. So that relationship that you had when you first got together with that boyfriend or girlfriend, when you first got together, you were so happy, you were so excited because the mind was getting what it wanted. It was getting this affection. It was getting this new person in your life. They were inviting you to the movies, to dinner. You were having great conversations. You were going to the park. You're going on these nice walks. You might have been having intimate contact at different times, and you were getting all these pleasant feelings. But then over time, the relationship deteriorated and you guys broke up, and now you were angry and sad and frustrated. It wasn't your love that was causing this. This is the mind craving permanence. As long as the mind's getting what it wants, you get pleasant feelings. But when your mind's not getting what you want, you experience painful feelings. And what the mind wants is this relationship to be permanent. And you're holding on to this relationship thinking that it should be permanent, when in reality, it was always impermanent ever since the beginning of the relationship. Even if you guys were together for the rest of your life, you guys were going to eventually die. And now when you guys need to end the relationship, you're going to struggle with that. You're going to be lonely or bored or missing this person. You can see this if you've had a brand new car, for example, where this brand new car, maybe you've parked it at a store and you went inside, and when you came out, you saw a scratch on your car. You might have been angry or frustrated at this. It's not the scratch that's causing it, and it's not the person who scratched your car. It's the mind itself. It's craving permanence, where in reality, you live in an impermanent world. Now, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because obviously when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But the fact is that this car is going to deteriorate. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. It's only a matter of time. So if you crave permanence, when you experience impermanence, your mind doesn't like it, because it doesn't understand the entire world around you is impermanent. So when you show up to the airport and you're so excited to go on that flight and it's supposed to leave in 1 hour, and then you find out that it's delayed by 3 hours and you can't take off for another 3 hours, if you get frustrated or angry in that situation, that's the craving for permanence, right? So what the Buddha is helping you to be able to see with one of his very first teachings is that the world around you is constantly changing, because the mind needs this wisdom in order to be able to transform the mind, to be able to understand that you need to train your mind to not crave permanence. So like that meditation we just did, where we were focused on the breath, and when the mind moves off the breath, you're letting go and then coming back to the breath. This is training your mind to let go, because with the craving for permanence, your mind will hold on. It will crave for things to be permanent when in reality, it's not permanent, that things are constantly changing in your life. And you need to be able to understand how to let go. But the mind doesn't know how to do that in the unenlightened state. So that's why there's things like meditation and other training that the Buddha shares, not just meditation, but other things as well, that actually helps you to be able to train your mind to let go. So he gives these discourses like this to be able to help you see the truth. And then it's a matter of you intellectually understanding that through examination and investigation to learn it. Then you got to reflect on this to be able to verify if it's true or false through your own direct experience. But then you've got to practice. And that's what's going to ultimately lead to this enlightened mental state. So here what he's saying is he's teaching something that's suitable for the way of attaining nibbana. So you're going to need to know this in order to be able to attain this enlightened mental state, this peace and joy. And he says, what, monks, is the way suitable for attaining nibbana? Well, one of the first things he's teaching is that here, monks, a monk sees the I, meaning the I that you have, as impermanent. And he sees what in these forms. The forms are like the physical forms that you see, like this carpet, this projector screen, this flowers, this computer. These are physical forms. You need to understand these things are all impermanent, right? This carpet is not permanent. This flower is not permanent. This computer is not permanent. They're all constantly deteriorating, right? So we need to understand that intellectually, and then we need to verify that. And then I consciousness is impermanent. What I consciousness is there's the physical I. We call this the internal sense base. And then there's the physical form, like this flower. This is the external sense base. This is a physical form. When the mind becomes aware of the physical form, we call that I consciousness, that the mind is now aware of what it's seeing through the eye, right? So this is called I consciousness. Then that's impermanent as well. That awareness of this object in your mind, that's impermanent. Then there's this eye contact. Eye contact is the combination of the I and the form with eye consciousness. These three things we call eye contact, that the mind has now been contacted, right? So there's the I, there's the physical form, the mind becomes aware of that. These three things are called eye contact, but that is impermanent too. And then whatever feeling arises based in eye contact as condition, whether a pleasant feeling, meaning happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, or euphoria, or painful, meaning like anger, sadness, frustration, or some other feeling, or whether it's neither painful nor pleasant, which is like uncomfortableness or dissatisfaction. That is all impermanent. So for example, if I see these flowers and the mind gets so happy and excited, like, wow, that's my favorite color. I really like that. That's so wonderful. Well, there's all these series of events that have happened. There's the eye, there's the physical form, the mind's become aware of that physical form. Then we've got eye contact, and now there's a feeling that has arisen. Wow, you get all this happiness because that's your favorite color. But that happiness is not permanent either, because as soon as you see something else, or let's just say this gets destroyed, now you're going to experience painful feelings. So what this is called a conditioned feeling, that you're experiencing these feelings based on the condition that you're having contact with this flower. If you saw a flower of a different color, or if you didn't see any flowers whatsoever, you're not going to experience that same pleasant feeling. So using this same sense base of the eye, if you see the sun, you might get really happy and excited about that. You get pleasant feelings. But now if you see rain, that it's raining, maybe you get frustrated or angry or irritated. That's because of what we call sensual desire, that inside the mind is craving permanently agreeable contact. So the Buddha is giving you this instruction manual to understand this being who you are. And you've got all these sense bases. The eye is just one of them. And now with the mind longing, yearning for contact through the eye that is agreeable, you can only be happy if you have agreeable contact. And if you see the sun as being agreeable, you'll be happy when you see that. But if you see the rain as being disagreeable, you'll be frustrated or annoyed when you see that. Or if you see a bank statement and your bank account balance is up here and you see that to be agreeable, you'll get really happy and excited. But then because that is not permanent, when it goes down here and you see that, you'll be frustrated or annoyed. This is what's happening inside the mind, is this craving for permanence, where everything around you is constantly changing. So the Buddha is helping you to understand that as it relates to the eye, because that's one of the ways that your mind experiences the world is through your eye. But then he goes on and he explains each individual sense base in the same way. So the ear is the same way. There's the ear, then there's a sound, then the mind becomes aware of that sound, and now there's been contact, that the mind has been contacted by that sound. And now, based on the mind's central desire of seeing that as agreeable or disagreeable, you're going to experience either a pleasant feeling, a painful feeling, or a feeling that's neither painful nor pleasant. So for example, let's just say I'm sitting at a traffic light, and somebody pulls up to me next to me in a car, and they're playing a certain type of music. And I really like this music. And this is music I listen to. And you're like, wow, man, that's my jam. All right, let's go. Party, 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 party. You get so excited because you've been contacted through the ear with a sound that you see agreeable, right? But now it's only a matter of time, because of impermanence, that you pull up to another traffic light and someone else has a different type of music, and you don't listen to this type of music, and you don't like this kind of music, and now you get frustrated and angry because the mind is craving permanently agreeable contact. It's not the music that's causing your anger and frustration. It's not the person who's playing the music. That's not what's causing your anger or frustration. It's inside the mind. The mind's craving permanence. And what the Buddha is teaching you is, hey, all these things are impermanent. Essentially, you're only going to be sitting at this traffic light for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Why get angry? What is the anger and frustration doing? It's not helping you at all. Just understand this is an impermanent situation, that this person is eventually going to drive off and you're not going to hear that music anymore. And you don't need to get upset or angry or frustrated just because you hear something that you don't typically listen to. Instead, you can have joy for them. Hey, I don't usually listen to that music, but that guy's having a good time, or that girl's having a good time. Wonderful. I'm pleased for them, right? Instead of sitting there grumpy and irritable, right? So we could go through each one of these sense bases and I could give you examples, but it's the same thing, right? So like the nose, You walk past a flower shop. Wow, it smells so good. You've been contacted. There's the nose, there's an odor. The mind is aware of that odor. You've been contacted by that odor. And now you're like, wow, pleasant feelings. But that's all not permanent. None of that's permanent, because you walk a few more steps and you get a whiff of the sewer. And now, if your mind has craving for permanently agreeable odors, you're going to be repulsed. And it's like, oh, that's horrible. Why don't they cover that up? Oh my gosh. But no need. Just keep walking, right? All you need to do is keep walking. So you can train your mind to get to the point where you understand the world around you is impermanent. And you can get to the point where you train your mind to understand this, where you don't crave permanence. And now you understand, like, wow, that perfume that person's wearing smells really great. But now you walk past a sewer and it's like, that's pretty ripe. Let me keep walking, right? And you don't have to sit there and be repulsed by it. So each one of these senses that you have, your mind's doing this. Now, this one with the body is body contact, but this one here, sometimes people need help to be able to understand this one, that the mind is the sixth sense base. If you've studied in science, you probably studied 5 sense bases. That's biology. But the Buddha refers to the mind as a 6th sense base. The reason why is because all these other sense bases, you'll have contact through the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, in the body itself, but you can also experience contact through the mind. So for example, let's just say you're laying in bed at night and you're thinking about something from the past. Maybe a very pleasurable experience that you had in the past, and you get all these pleasant feelings about this thing you're thinking about in the past. Well, you haven't had any contact through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, or the body. It's just the mind itself thinking about something in the past, and now you're experiencing pleasant feelings in the present moment based on thinking about that thing in the past. But then you can also have the same thing in the present moment. You can be thinking about something painful in the past. Maybe you were abused. Maybe you had some kind of fight or physical abuse or something like that. In the present moment, you could be having painful feelings, not through any contact through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, or the body. It's just the mind itself thinking about this thing in the past. And then there's the same thing for the future, that your mind could be thinking about the future, and you could experience pleasant feelings, painful feelings, or neither painful nor pleasant. And the Buddha teaches you how to train your mind to not do this with all of these 6 sense bases. That's what his entire path is all about, is transforming your mind so that you don't experience conditioned feelings. Because if you allow your mind to get the conditioned pleasant feelings, the painful ones are waiting for you right around the corner. So if you get so happy and excited when it's sunny outside, that means when it's raining, you're going to be sad or frustrated. If you get so happy and excited when you hear that music that pulls up next to you, when the other type of music pulls up, you'll be angry and frustrated. So what the Buddha teaches you how to do is how to enjoy something in the present moment without conditioned pleasant feelings, which can sound very strange to some people, because right now you probably enjoy things when you're getting pleasant feelings, but you can actually train your mind to enjoy something without conditioned pleasant feelings. And this is something that the mind needs to learn how to do, because that way you can enjoy everything, because you can experience what's called unconditioned happiness. In the unenlightened state, you can only experience conditioned happiness, that there has to be some condition met. If you see a certain thing, if you hear a certain thing, if you smell a certain thing, certain flavor hits your tongue, certain bodily contact, or certain thoughts in your mind, you can only be happy when those things are happening. That's called conditioned happiness. So your happiness is shrinking, because it's kind of like, if my mom does this, if my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if the weather is this, if I have this much money in my bank account, I have this type of house and this type of car, then I will be happy. So your happiness is shrinking the more conditions that you place. But what the Buddha is teaching you to do is how to get rid of that, where your mind's not doing this any longer, and you can get to unconditioned happiness. And one of the first things you need to be able to understand to get to that is that all of these things you're experiencing are impermanent, that it's not permanent. That's going to help you to then get to the point where your mind doesn't crave permanence. So that's why he's teaching you this here. So let me see if you guys have questions on this. that the Buddha is teaching you everything around you is constantly changing. It arises, it changes, and it fades away. These are called conditioned objects. And then there's something else called unconditioned objects that don't arise, that don't change, and don't fade away. Anything you guys would like to ask here? Questions? Okay. I don't see any questions online either. Oh, you have a question? Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Can you give us an example of unconditional happiness, please? Because I don't think I understand the concept.
Yeah, you can have unconditional happiness. The mind is bright, it's cheerful, it's glad, it's uplifted, it's always present. There doesn't need to be any condition met in order for the mind to experience that. So it doesn't arise, it doesn't change, and it doesn't fade away because there's no causing condition. If there's a causing condition, that means it's conditional. It arises, changes, and fades away. But for the enlightened mind, your mind is just always happy. It's always joyful. From the time you wake up all day long and as you go to sleep, your mind's just cheerful and bright and uplifted. And there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for your mind to be experiencing this.
And you mentioned that there's like 3 other universal truths.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be aside? So there's impermanence.
Yes.
Could you briefly mention the other 2, please?
That's what we're going to study now.
Perfect.
This is the first
Okay.
discourse. This is the first discourse. There's going to be a second one and a third one, and we're going to go through each one of them.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any other questions anywhere. All right. So let's go to the next one. Would you like to read the next one? Oh, you have a question? Sure.
I don't.
The microphone's impermanent. So you're not longing, yearning for unconditional happiness because you won't get it if you are. But you're also not on the other side where you could care less about what you experience in your day-to-day life. Those are the 2 opposite sides that the unenlightened mind can see very clearly, is the chasing or the dull and lethargic state. But instead, there's a middle way here. There's a way to gradually pursue the objective of getting to enlightenment through wise decision makings, where you're not longing, yearning for it, but you're just gradually making your way towards it through wise decisions. So that's what you can do where your mind's not longing, yearning. So it's what's going on in the mind. It's not the fact that you're interested in obtaining this objective. It's a matter of whether you're longing, yearning for it and basing your feelings on it, or if you're all the way on the other side where you could care less about what's going on in your life. Neither one of those sides are going to produce peace and joy. But you can come to the middle where you gradually work towards something, but you don't form your feelings based on it. And that's what you can accomplish as you're gradually moving closer and closer to enlightenment. Okay. All right. So let's go to this next chapter. Would somebody like to read this one? This is the second universal truth.
Yeah. The suitable way for attaining nirvana, enlightenment, second discourse. Monks, I will teach you the way that is suitable for attaining nirvana, enlightenment. Listen to that and attend closely. I will speak. And what, monks, is the way that is suitable for attaining nirvana, enlightenment? Here, amongst these, the I as discontentness. He sees form as discontentness. He sees I consciousness as discontentedness. He sees eye contact as discontentness. He sees as discontentness whatever feeling arises with eye contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the ear as discontentness. He sees sounds as discontentness. He sees ear consciousness as discontentness. He sees ear contact as discontentness. He sees as discontentness whatever feeling arises with ear contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the nose as discontentness. He sees others as discontentness. He sees nose consciousness as discontentness. He sees nose contact as discontentness. He sees as discontentness whatever feeling arises with nose contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the tongue as discontentness. He sees flavors as discontentness. He sees tongue consciousness as discontentness. He sees the tongue content as discontentness. He sees as discontentness whatever feeling arises with tongue contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the body as discontentness. He sees physical objects as discontentness. He sees body consciousness as discontentness. He sees body contact as discontentness. He sees as discontentness whatever feeling arises with body contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the mind as discontentness. He sees mental objects as discontentness. He sees mind consciousness as discontentness. He sees mind contact as discontentness. He sees as discontentness whatever feeling arises with mind contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant. This, monks, is the way that is suitable for attaining nirvana, enlightenment.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So here we have the second universal truth. It's called discontentedness. If you studied the teachings of the Buddha in other places, you might have heard the word suffering being used. I don't use this word because it doesn't accurately reflect what the Buddha was teaching. What he's teaching is pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant feelings. What he's helping you to understand is what the unenlightened mind experiences when you experience certain contact through your sense bases, that you'll experience a conditioned feeling. And there's pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. Then there's painful feelings, which are things like anger, sadness, frustration, agitation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety. These are very painful for you to experience. Then there's neither painful nor pleasant. I put boredom and loneliness here, but some people say that's pretty painful for them. But you might think about shyness. This is neither painful nor pleasant. Or uncomfortableness. Like if you were on a public transportation and someone you don't know came and sat really close to you and your body was touching their body, you might say it's not painful, it's not pleasant, it's neither painful nor pleasant. So the word suffering only describes the painful feelings. It doesn't describe the pleasant feelings and the neither painful nor pleasant feelings. So if we use the word suffering, we're not fully understanding what it is that the Buddha was actually describing, because those pleasant feelings that are conditional are just as much a part of the problem as the painful ones. Because if you allow your mind to get so happy and excited when you got that brand new job, well, 3 years later, when the company goes out of business and they lay you off, you're going to be angry. You're going to be frustrated because your mind can only be happy if you have this job. This is conditional happiness. So the Buddha is teaching you how to get to unconditional happiness. So if you understand impermanence, when you start this job, you understand this job is not permanent, but let me do a really good job. Let me do my work. Let me make sure I apply myself. Let me learn as much as I can learn here so that when this job is over and I go to the next one, I will be that much better at that next job. But none of these occupations that you're doing are permanent. Even if you work at the same company for your entire life, you're going to retire, right? At some point, you're not going to work at that company anymore. Even if you work there until your last day on this earth and you die, at some point, you're no longer going to work at that job anymore. So you need to be able to understand that this job is impermanent, because your mind is going to experience discontentedness if you crave permanence. That's what the Buddha is helping you to be able to see here, is that anytime you experience contact through any of these sense bases, if you're craving permanence from the previous discourse, then your mind's going to experience discontentedness. You're going to experience conditioned feelings. And if you allow your mind to experience conditioned feelings, you won't ever be able to get to unconditional mental qualities of peace and joy and happiness that is always there. So for example, if I go into a restaurant and they have a big piece of chocolate cake and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so delicious. I'm so happy. This chocolate cake is so amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to come back here and get another piece of this chocolate cake next week. And I'm so happy and excited. Well, when I come next week and I walk into the restaurant and they're like, oh, sir, I'm sorry, we don't have your chocolate cake. It's all gone. Well, now I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to be angry. But if I can sit there and I can learn how to eat this chocolate cake and I'm like, wow, this tastes very good. And now you can enjoy it without conditioned pleasant feelings. When I show up next week and they don't have the cake, I'm like, oh, no worries. No big deal. I'll just have my meal, or I'll have fruit, or I'll have a piece of apple pie, or I'll have something else, or maybe I actually don't need to eat right now. Maybe I'll just go home, right? And you can maintain your happiness, you can maintain your joy. But if you can only be happy if they have your chocolate cake, that means that chocolate cake is not permanent. And when they don't have your chocolate cake, you'll be angry or frustrated. So you need to be able to train your mind to understand that it's going to experience discontentedness as long as you're craving permanence. And that's what the Buddha is bringing to your attention, that when you experience contact through these sense spaces, you will experience discontentedness. And that's what you're looking to eliminate out of your mind. And there's a whole path that the Buddha teaches you of how to do that. These are just simple discourses where he's helping you understand impermanence and now discontentedness. That your mind essentially in the unenlightened state is going to be shaken up. You're going to be happy and excited, but then you're going to be sad and frustrated. Then you're going to be irritated and annoyed. Then you're going to be lonely and bored. Then you're going to be shy. Then you're going to be embarrassed. And then you're going to be disappointed. Of course, you have peace and joy here and there in between those situations, but it's only a matter of time before you become irritated or annoyed about something. That's what the Buddha is teaching you. And the way that this is occurring is through contact, through your senses. And now your mind is going to see that contact as agreeable or disagreeable. And now if you see it as agreeable, you'll get pleasant feelings. And if you see it as disagreeable, you'll get painful feelings, or neither painful nor pleasant feelings. And this discontentedness is essentially undesirable, because if you allow your mind to get the temporary happiness, then that means the painful feelings are going to be coming right around the corner. They're waiting for you right around the corner. It's like getting into the mafia, right? If you get into the mafia, you might get really happy and excited when you first get into the mafia. You got all these new friends. You got these new ways to make money. You've got all this maybe prestige or whatever if someone gets into the mafia, right? But then when you get out, it's very hard. It's very difficult. I've never been in the mafia, so I don't know. I'm only telling you what other people have shared with me. It's very hard to get out of the mafia, right? It's very painful. So it's the same thing. If you allow your mind to get the pleasant feelings, hey, you feel great when it's first happening. But when you have to get out of that, when your mind realizes you're not going to get your piece of chocolate cake, or you're going to get fired from your job and you're not going to have this job anymore, it's very painful for you. Or you're not going to have this boyfriend or girlfriend anymore. They're going to leave you, or they're going to die, or something else is going to happen and this relationship's over. It's going to be very painful. That's because the mind got those pleasant feelings and you're holding on to it, wanting it to be permanent. So the Buddha is bringing to your attention this discontentedness where the mind is shaken up. It's unsteady. It's uncalm. This is the problem that the Buddha discovered in the mind, that the unenlightened mind can't be permanently happy and permanently joyful, but that's what he's guiding you towards. So the Buddha has a really great way of helping you to understand the problem. And then when you understand the problem, he gives you the solution. Here, he's not sharing with you the solution yet. He's just sharing with you the problem. So any questions on this particular discourse here?
Just to check that I understand correctly. So if you allow yourself to experience conditional happiness, so it's an intensity in a scale from 0 to 10, you are in the 10 of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
If you allow, you allow yourself to also experience the bad feelings, sorry, I don't remember that, like non-present feelings, then you go to the scale of 0, right? So could I think about the middle way, which I think is what the Buddha is teaching as a 5, as a constant 5. So you don't go up, you don't go down, riding the roller coaster. You kind of like stay. You're trading off those highs of 10s for a constant kind of like peace of mind. So, but you're missing out on those highs, but you're also missing out on those lows. So it's like it pays off.
Using your analogy, you're completely outside of that scale. You've completely demolished that scale and you're completely outside of it now. And your mind is just experiencing unconditioned happiness all the time. So you're not just mute. You're not just mundane. You're not just numb. Your mind is just always bright and cheerful and uplifted. Your mind's no longer in this scale. You're no longer in this whole system of basing your feelings on some condition. You've demolished all of that. And you're now completely outside of that, where your mind's completely peaceful and joyful. You're beyond this scale that you're talking about. Your mind's completely beyond that.
At the moment, it's really difficult for me to actually envision that because I guess I've never experienced it. But
have you ever been somewhere that you're sitting and you're just looking maybe at a scenery or something and you're just like, wow, this is so amazing. I could just sit here all day and I don't need anything at all. I just feel inwardly content and inwardly joyful just sitting here doing nothing. Have you had that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So there's no such thing as there's no such thing as temporary enlightenment. There's no such thing as that. But we might call that temporary enlightenment. That for that moment or that 5 minutes or whatever it was, you were completely satisfied. You weren't looking for anything outside of yourself to be able to create this inner happiness and inner joy. You were just inwardly happy, inwardly joyful. You weren't longing, yearning for more money. You weren't longing, yearning for somebody else to be there that wasn't there. You weren't longing and yearning to be somewhere else other than you were already at. You were just completely satisfied with what you were experiencing in that moment, and you didn't need anything else. That's what enlightenment is like for what you can understand now. You're not going to fully understand what enlightenment is until you're experiencing it, but just for your experiences that you've had now in your current life, you might think of it in that way, that you're not seeking satisfaction externally any longer, but inwardly you're completely happy and content.
I always thought that those feelings, that state, when you see like a serene landscape or, that those, I always thought that they were not sustainable in time. Like I always thought they were impermanent, I guess.
Yeah, if somebody is happy because of the landscape, that's conditional, right? But I'm trying to help you be able to see something that you haven't experienced yet based on something that you have experienced. So if you've ever been somewhere and you've ever felt like, I feel completely satisfied right now, just sitting on this, at this bus stop, right? I don't need anything else. I just feel like the world is completely fulfilling and I'm satisfied 100%. But then it's only a matter of time, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, your mind starts wanting something and you're dissatisfied, right? But for that little few minutes, that few moments, even a few seconds, your mind was just completely satisfied. That's what enlightenment is. So your mind's not numb or mundane. You're beyond that scale that you're talking about, and your mind's just always bright and cheerful and glad and uplifted. You've demolished that scale and you're completely outside of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Don't see any other questions anywhere. Okay, so let's go to this last one for today. By the way, what you guys have in these books is you have the words of the Buddha. You have this reference that takes you back to the original source teachings in the Pali Canon. What the Pali Canon is 45 volumes of books that are this thick. These are the largest, most complete collection we have of the teachings of the Buddha. And this reference takes you back to that original so that you can see that what I'm sharing with you here are his original words. Then you've got words from me that are helping you to understand this teaching and how to integrate it into your life. Because if you you've studied the teachings of the Buddha teaches very clear, very concise, and very precise, but it helps to have a dedicated practitioner and teacher guiding you through. You are your own practitioner. A teacher is kind of like a tour guide pointing out for you the things that you need to learn and understand. So I'm not explaining his teachings. I'm not interpreting his teachings. I'm just helping you to understand how they connect to other teachings and how to integrate it into your life. Because his teachings, once you study them, they're self-explanatory, but you're going to need guidance. There's only one type of person that could get to enlightenment without the help of teachers or guides, and that person is an actual Buddha. So you're going to need help and guidance along the way. So that's what this is, helping you to understand these teachings. And then here's the third universal truth. Would somebody like to read this one? Would you like to read? No? Okay. Oh, okay. I thought you were coming up to read. Would you like to read? Oh, you like to read? Sure. Go ahead.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
The suitable way for attaining the Buddha, Enlightenment, third discourse. Monks, I will teach you the way that is suitable for attaining the Buddha, Enlightenment. Listen to that and attend closely. I will speak. And what, monks, is the way that is suitable for attaining the Buddha, Enlightenment? Here, a monk sees the I as non-self. He sees forms as non-self. He sees eye consciousness as non-self. He sees eye contact as non-self. He sees as non-self whatever feeling arises with eye contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant. He sees the ear as non-self. He sees sounds as non-self. He sees ear consciousness as non-self. He sees ear contact as non-self. He sees non-self whatever feeling arises with ear contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful or pleasant. He sees the nose as non-self. He sees the odors as non-self. He sees nose consciousness as non-self. He sees nose contact as non-self. He sees as non-self whatever feeling arises with nose contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful or pleasant. He sees the tongue as non-self. He sees flavors as non-self. He sees tongue consciousness as non-self. He sees tongue contact as non-self. He sees as non-self whatever feeling arises with tongue contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful or pleasant. He sees the body as non-self. He sees physical objects as non-self. He sees body consciousness as non-self. He sees body contact as non-self. He sees as non-self whatever feeling arises with body contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful or pleasant. He sees the mind as non-self. He sees mental objects as non-self. He sees mind consciousness as non-self. He sees the mind contact as non-self. He sees as non-self whatever feeling arises with mind contact as condition, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful or pleasant. This, monks, is the way that is suitable for attaining the Buddha enlightenment.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So this is the third universal truth where the Buddha teaches you that there is no self. This is actually helping you to eliminate something called personal existence view. What personal existence view is where your mind will cling to the idea that this body is you, this self-image, or this mind, the mental identity or the self-identity. And now you will want to be perceived by others in a certain way. And you can only feel comfortable if you're being perceived that way. So for example, if you've ever been in a social situation and you spilt something on your clothing and you were embarrassed by that, that is your personal existence view, where your mind's clinging to the body, wanting to be perceived by others, and you can only be happy if you're being perceived that way. Or let's just say you were going somewhere and you stood in front of your closet and you're like, who am I going to see today? And how do I want to look? and you put on some clothes and you looked in the mirror and you're like, no, that's not it. And you put on another set of clothes, you're like, no, that's not it. And you put on a third set and you're like, all right, now I feel comfortable to go outside. This is your mind wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way, clinging to this self-image. Maybe you looked in the mirror and you saw a pimple or a wrinkle or a mole or a gray hair, or you started losing your hair and you were shaken up by that. That's your personal existence view, wanting to be perceived by others. This is still a craving for permanence, but it's the mind craving to appear to others in a certain way. If you were like me when I was a kid, before I would go to school, I would get out gel and mousse and I would run it through my hair and I would try to get every little hair in exactly the right spot. And I couldn't go outside until I had every little hair in the right spot. And sometimes I'd do this for so long I would miss the school bus, right? And I'd have to figure out a way to get to school because I'd miss the school bus, right? So this is called personal existence view, where you're clinging to this body, wanting others to perceive you in a certain way. And the Buddha helps you understand this is not you. It's not who you are. This is going to constantly change. But if you cling to it, wanting it to be permanent, then that means when it's changing, you're not going to feel comfortable with that. That's why when you see a pimple or a wrinkle or a mole, you're not comfortable with that because you want to look a certain way to other people. And the Buddha teaches you this body is not you. It's just a physical thing that's constantly changing. You can also have a certain self-identity in the mind where you're clinging to maybe your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your job or occupation. You can cling to any number of these things as who you think you are as a person. And now you can only be happy when you're experiencing what you want to experience. So for example, using this one with the ears, right? That what you hear through the ears is not yourself. Let's just say you're in a restaurant and 2 tables over, somebody says, all Americans are lovely and kind and warm and gentle, or whatever nationality you have, right? All Chinese people are lovely and kind and warm and gentle. All people from Lithuania, all Mexicans, all people from the Netherlands, these types of people, they might be talking about your nationality that you're holding in your mind, and they might be saying something positive and very agreeable to you. Well, the Buddha is saying, understand that that's not you. That's not who you are. I am not American. This body was born on a land that we refer to as the USA or America. But my mind doesn't have to adopt the identity of I am American. Because when you hear something agreeable to you, you'll be really happy and excited because you think they're talking about you. But now it's only a matter of time before 2 tables over. Because of impermanence, someone's going to say something degrading and disparaging about your nationality, right? And if you cling to this nationality of who you think you are, this ethnicity, now when you hear something degrading and diminishing, you'll be upset and angry because you think they're talking about you. And what the Buddha is explaining to you is this isn't you. It's not who you are. So if you cling to anything with the physical body, or if you cling to anything in your mind of who you think you are, when you hear either agreeable or disagreeable contact about these things, you'll be angry and frustrated or irritated, or you'll be really happy and excited. And your mind's going to go up and down and up and down, right? So you need to get to the point where when somebody says something, you don't identify with that as who you are. So if somebody says all Buddhist teachers are lovely and kind and generous and wow, they're so great helping people learn the teachings of the Buddha. Okay, they're not talking about me because I am not a Buddhist teacher. I'm performing the role of being a Buddhist teacher, but my mind hasn't adopted the identity of I am a Buddhist teacher. Because then when somebody says something degrading and disparaging, because people do that too, they'll say all Buddhist teachers are leading people to hell. Okay, they're not talking about me because my mind doesn't identify that way. I understand I'm performing the role of sharing the teachings of the Buddha, but my mind doesn't have to adopt the identity of this is who I am as a person, right? So you need to be able to train your mind to understand that there is no self. anything that you see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body, or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind, this isn't who you are. And this is something that the mind needs to be trained to do. This is just the information that the Buddha is helping you to see that there is no self. But then there's teachings that he shares with you of how to strip this out of your mind. Because it's one thing to sit here and intellectually understand that, yeah, none of this is me, but it's a whole other thing to be in a situation where somebody says or does something and now your mind can remain peaceful and joyful. Sometimes people understand this one when I first start talking about it. Other times they don't. So if you don't understand this one, it's okay. There's more details here for you to be able to understand this, because you spend so much time in your life accumulating this idea that there is a self, that it's oftentimes hard for people to hear that this body is not you, or this mind is not you. Usually what people say, well, if I'm not the body and I'm not the mind, then what am I? Right? And that's your mind continuing to try to grasp for something that is you. Your mind's trying to hold on to something and say, this is who I am. Well, as long as you allow your mind to hold on and grab onto something of who you think you are as a person, when all that stuff changes, you'll have struggles and you'll have difficulties. So, for example, somebody might talk to their family in their home country and say, Mom and Dad, I don't even know who I am anymore. I need to go find myself. I don't know who I am. I need to go find my true self. I'm going to go to Thailand and find myself. And they might come here and they might spend 6 months, a year, 2 years going all around Thailand. And then they eventually get to a point where they're like, wow, I found myself. I know who I am again. And they'll go home to their parents. They'll say, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm back. I found myself. I know who I am. They haven't found themselves. They might have new hobbies, new activities, new friends. They might have found a new job, but they haven't found themselves. If you cling to any of the stuff as who you think you are, well, as soon as it changes, you don't know who you are anymore, right? So if you cling to a job as who you think you are, when that job changes, you'll feel unwhole. You'll feel like less of a person. So if I think that I am a police officer, and that's how my mind identifies as I am a police officer, well, now when I'm doing that job, I feel great. But 10 years in, 15 years in, I get injured or I get laid off or I retire and I'm not doing this job anymore, I'll feel like less of a person. I'll feel unwhole. So the Buddha is teaching you not to grab on to any of these things, to think that that is who you are as a person. Because as soon as you do that, you're sabotaging your ability to be permanently peaceful. Because it's only a matter of time before you hear something where somebody's saying something negative or degrading about your nationality, your gender, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, any number of things they might say. And now you're going to be angry and frustrated. And it's your own mind that's doing that. So the Buddha is teaching you there is no self, that none of these things are who you are as a person. So questions on this one? You have questions? I've learned you like to ask questions. You've been in enough classes now. I just look to you. Questions? Okay, let me see if we have anything online. All right, I don't see anything online. Okay, so I'm just going to end here by thanking you guys for being interested to learn the teachings of the Buddha. If you would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you to do that. On Saturday evenings from home, I live stream this same class, but I actually cover all 10 chapters. We cover 10 chapters a week, and there's students there that have been studying with me for quite a while. They tend to be already have studied the foundational courses and programs. This program is kind of helping you to fill in the gaps. This isn't usually where somebody will start. Usually people will start with our foundational programs. So if this is like a little bit too far beyond where you currently are with the teachings of the Buddha, that's understandable. The other programs that I teach are better for people to start out in. Like tomorrow in the group learning program, I'm going to be in chapter 15 of this first book. And chapter 15 is titled True Love, Love Without Attachment, where this is helping you to be able to understand what is true love, because oftentimes people don't understand what true love is. And if you don't understand what true love is, you're not going to be able to practice true love. So therefore, you're going to have a lot of difficulties in your relationships. If you think that you're falling in love and out of love with people, or if you think that love hurts and love is painful, you're not understanding what true love is yet. And because of that, if you're not understanding what true love is, you're not going to be able to practice true love. So you're not going to be able to experience true love. So it's only when you're actually practicing true love and you're putting that out that more and more you'll experience that coming back to you. So with a lack of wisdom of what true love is, you'll struggle and have difficulties in your relationships, or you'll have broken relationship after broken relationship after broken relationship. So by understanding what true love is, you can now practice it and experience very fulfilling relationships. So I'm going to teach you that tomorrow in a more traditional style of learning, where I'll teach for 15, 20, 30 minutes, open up for questions. I'll teach another 15, 20, 30 minutes, where this program is more like filling in all the framework, where all the other programs I teach helps you to build that framework, where this program helps you to fill that in. So this isn't where people typically start, but I'm sure you maybe kind of learned something today, even though this isn't where people normally start. You still were able to learn something. And then next week, like I shared, I have the Harmony and Relationships course, and there's other programs and things that you can see on our website over there, or on a website or the bulletin board over there. You can just take a look, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to come let me know, and I will help you get plugged into the teachings. Because the best place to start is really this first book, and you can download it for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can get it on Amazon. This is where I recommend that each person start. And then each Sunday, I'll walk you through this chapter by chapter. So if you guys would like to come tomorrow, you'll be able to learn this other content. But if not, whatever you choose to do today or tomorrow, the rest of your week, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. And perhaps I'll see you next time. Okay? Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.